After all this time, will someone finally face justice for the killing of music icon Tupac Shakur?
When a life as big as Tupac's was, I mean, the weight of his life is taken in senseless violence at such a young age, there isn't really a replacement.
Right now, attorneys are going head-to-head in a Las Vegas courtroom where Duane Keffe D Davis stands trial for allegedly orchestrating this infamous crime. But before we talk about the opening statements and day one of the trial, we need to go back to the life and legacy of Tupac Shakur.
I think what the universal we will never know who he could have been if he lived more than 25 years. The 25 years that he did live, I think we all do know who he is.
Only Law&Crime sat down with his sister, Sekyiwa Shakur, set to find out who he really was and what she wants the world to remember. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. The night was September 7th, 1996, Las Vegas, Nevada. Mike Tyson had just knocked out Bruce Seldon in the first round at the MGM Grand. The Strip was packed. The biggest fight of the year was over, but something else was just beginning. Somewhere on the streets of Las Vegas, a white Cadillac was closing in.
I got in the car with the homies, yeah, and we ran into them. We went up to the light on Sunset and Flamingo.
The car drove up alongside a black BMW carrying Tupac Shakur, one of the biggest stars in the world.
And we was the first ones.
Yeah.
Luckiest one, I guess. Hit that corner, gave a little chase, boom, boom, boom.
At least 12 shots were fired. 4 hit Tupac Shakur. And 6 days later, on September 13th, 1996, Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead. He was 25 years old. And for nearly 3 decades, the question that has haunted hip-hop, that has haunted America, that has haunted a family has been, who killed Tupac? Tupac was a brother. He was a son. He was an artist who changed the rap industry at the time. He is somebody who is still talked about so much today. We sat down with one person who knew him probably better than anyone else, his sister, Sekyiwa Shakur, Set, and she gave us the most personal look at the man behind the icon.
I think what the universal we will never know who he could have been if he lived more than 25 years. The 25 years that he did live, I think we all do know who he is. If you ever laughed with him, if you've ever seen him smile, it's a gift and it touched your life. He was truly, in my eyes, our shining prince.
This is the story of Tupac Shakur and what his sister wants the world to remember as this trial finally begins. So Tupac was born Lassane Parish Crooks on June 16, 1971 in Harlem, New York. But his mother, Afeni Shakur, ended up changing his name. She renamed him Tupac Amaru Shakur. This is after an Inca revolutionary who led a rebellion against Spanish rule in the 1700s. Afeni Shakur was a member of the Black Panthers, deeply involved in the movement's fight for justice and equality. And when she was pregnant with Tupac, she was actually awaiting trial as part of the Panther 21, this group of Black Panthers accused of conspiring to bomb police stations and other public places. She represented herself in court, by the way, and was acquitted. Tupac's father, Billy Garland, was also a Black Panther, though he was largely absent from Tupac's childhood. There was a man named Mutulu Shakur, born Gerald Wayne Williams, stepfather of Tupac, reportedly considered his father. And as a prominent Black liberation activist and leader in the Black Liberation Army, he spent years on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list before serving over 35 years in federal prison. And it was that history that also shaped the way that Set viewed the criminal justice system, especially when it came to her brother's murder.
Unfortunately, our family, because of the history of America and our family's history here, have no expectations or low expectations of the criminal system ever. We've never had any expectations for the criminal system to hunt down someone for my brother's murder. Just young black boys, and their lives or their deaths tend to be swept under the rug in America often. So we didn't have high expectations in the beginning.
Now, growing up, Tupac moved around a lot. Harlem, the Bronx, Baltimore, then eventually to Marin City, California, and later Oakland. His family struggled financially. There were times they lived in homeless shelters, but there was also art. His mother wrote poems, encouraged him to write. He attended the Baltimore School for the Arts, where he studied acting and poetry and ballet. Even as a teenager, there was a magnetism to him. His close friend from that time, Jada Pinkett Smith, once said she knew he was special from the moment that she met him. He was even reportedly reading Machiavelli. His sister tells us it was his ability to make people feel seen and to put their own experiences into words that really made Tupac stand out.
I personally believe that my brother was a zeitgeist for our generation. I believe that he was an actual human being that lived actual human experiences, and the experiences that he lived, he had actual feelings about and actual emotions about, and he shared them with the world. And his experience wasn't that different from the average human being's experience. Everybody's experienced pain and sorrow and trauma and loss and joy and the love of a woman or the anger of an enemy or the care for the community. And because he spoke to such basic human emotions and instances, I believe his message and his care, I'm going to use the word care, will always be relevant. I always compare him to any of the prophets that any of the religions want to, use as an example of a good human being, a total human being. That's who he was. So I think all human beings will always connect and be able to understand his intentions.
By the time he was in his late teens, Tupac Shakur had experienced poverty, instability, living in a community that was affected by violence. But he also had this incredible gift for articulating what people felt but couldn't put into words. Now, Tupac's career launched in the early 1990s, first as a backup dancer and a rapper with Digital Underground, and then as a solo artist. His debut album, Tupacalypse, now dropped in 1991, and it was clear from the start that this was something different. It wasn't just party music. And honestly, it was raw, political, angry, and painfully honest. Songs like Brenda's Got a Baby tackled teen pregnancy and poverty. Trapped was about police brutality. The album caught the attention of the administration at the time, and honestly, not in a good way. You had Vice President Dan Quayle publicly criticizing it, saying it had, quote, no place in our society. But that didn't stop Tupac. His second album, Strictly For My N-Words, went platinum, gave him his first major hit, I Get Around, which peaked at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. From there, he then signed with Death Row Records in 1995, released All Eyes on Me. This was a double album that is widely regarded in the hip-hop world. It's one of the most well-known. It featured songs like California Love, How Do You Want It? But for all the success, there was tension. He was a man of contradictions, someone who signed to a label run by Suge Knight, a man with reportedly deep ties to gang culture. He spoke about love and community in the same breath as violence and revenge. And for his family, it was this complicated image that is part of what made him special.
When a life like my brother, my mother's son, the artist, the philosopher, the actor, the cousin, the loved one, when a life as big as Tupac's was, I mean, the weight of his life is taken in senseless violence at such a young age. There isn't really a replacement. There isn't really like an eye for an eye or a get back or one day we're going to feel better or it's going to be okay because he's gone.
It's remarkable to see someone as beloved as him. It's remarkable to see someone who has this lasting legacy all this time after, for people who even weren't born, who didn't even know, who weren't around when Tupac was around. Oh, and by the way, let me just say, we're kind of limited here on Sidebar and how much we can show you, every page of every document or every minute of an opening statement or closing argument. So we developed the Law&Crime Plus case files. You go on the Law&Crime Plus app, under the case files section, we have all of the big cases that we're covering, including Tupac. And this is essentially opening up the evidence vault so you can inspect, let's say, raw body cam footage or 911 calls or crime scene photos and full trial tapes all firsthand. You get ad-free streaming of all your favorite law and crime and court TV shows too. So see the full picture for an entire month free. Head on over to lawandcrimeplus.com, enter promo code Sidebar, start exploring today. Okay, let's jump back into this. As Tupac's fame grew, so did the controversies. You had the East Coast, West Coast rivalry increasingly dominating hip-hop, the media. Tupac found himself at the center of it. He had apparently this falling out with Notorious B.I.G., once a close friend. There were diss tracks. There were alleged public threats. There was a lot of noise at that time. But this is where things got complicated for a lot of people. There was some media coverage reduced Tupac to just another alleged gangster rapper, dangerous, violent, what some labeled as a product of the streets that he rapped about. But others would argue he was really a young man navigating fame and violence and poverty. And then there was his acting. So Tupac was in a number of films: Juice, Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, Gridlocked. And by 1996, Tupac Shakur was arguably the most famous rapper in the entire world. All Eyes on Me had gone quintuple platinum. He was everywhere: magazine covers, movies, MTV, and the news. But the spotlight was getting hotter. The East Coast, West Coast rivalry had shifted into something much darker. Tupac ended up getting wrapped up in it. His feud with Notorious B.I.G. became a defining conflict in hip-hop. And if you remember, Tupac had been shot before. 1994, he was robbed and shot 5 times in the lobby of a New York recording studio. He survived, but that experience reportedly changed him. And then came that fateful night, September 7th, 1996. So Tupac Shakur was in Las Vegas with Suge Knight, attending the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. And according to police, this is what ultimately went down that night.
Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Duane Davis, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM, and at that time they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to this incident. And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight. Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur.
What happened next is well documented. Anderson's uncle, Duane Keffe D. Davis, was apparently also at the MGM that night, even though he now seems to dispute that he was in Las Vegas. According to prosecutors, Davis devised a plan to retaliate, allegedly obtained a gun, got into a white Cadillac with Anderson and 2 other men, and went looking for Tupac and Suge. Around 11:15 p.m., the Cadillac pulled alongside Tupac's BMW. This was at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. At least 12 shots were fired. Tupac was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, and on the thigh. One of those bullets pierced his lung. Now, Suge was apparently grazed by shrapnel, but survived this. Tupac was rushed to the University Medical Center in Las Vegas. He underwent surgery. He was placed in a medically induced coma And for 6 days, the world waited. And by September 13th at 4:03 p.m., Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead, 25 years old. And for his family, this loss brought something else. It brought forth another painful realization. Maybe they would never find out who killed Tupac.
When Tupac died, it was September of '96. I was about to turn 21, and I turned 21 in October. And later that month, just 1 month after his passing, his murder was on Unsolved Mysteries, which means to me, and which told me as a young woman, that the case was wrapped and already deemed unsolvable. And that was just 1 month after his passing.
For years after Tupac's death, this case seemed frozen in time. Investigators eventually identified 4 men as the occupants of that white Cadillac, allegedly Orlando Anderson, Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Duane Keffe D. Davis. But there wasn't enough to bring charges, and one by one, the other men in that car died. Anderson was killed in a gang-related shooting in 1998. Smith died in 2004 of natural causes. Brown was killed in a shooting in 2015. So that left just one person still alive who allegedly had been in that Cadillac, Duane Keffe D. Davis. And Keffe D started talking. 2008, sat down with law enforcement, including a task force that was investigating Tupac's murder. And in that interview, according to investigators, he described his role in the shooting, how he obtained the gun, how he was in the car, how he passed the weapon to the back seat. But the interview was part of what's called a proffer agreement. So essentially a deal where someone shares information in exchange for immunity, or at the very least, the understanding that those statements won't be used against them. Then you go to 2019. Davis published his memoir. It's called Compton Street Legend, gave interviews promoting the book. And he described the night of the shooting in vivid detail. He talked about being in the car, about the gun, about the chase.
I got in the car with the homies, yeah. And we ran into them. We went up to the light on Sunset and Flamingo. And dude was acting like he was in a parade or something. And that BMW hanging out the window. Hey, this Tupac, he's Tupac. And then they was hollering for him. And we let there go that came up on the side of him.
So let's talk about that. So you guys went to the liquor store, and then I think you said in the book Big Meech was with you, like in the.
No, that was a misprint.
Oh, it was a misprint.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So so you was in the van. You guys went to the liquor store to get some bottles and stuff, and then you was in the van, but then you hopped in with Baby Lane, in their car.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so y'all get in, and then you guys are heading back to the carriage house, was it?
Yeah, we was heading back to our room, yeah.
To the rooms. And then you see this entourage or caravan of everybody.
Yeah, and it was the dude.
Pac.
Yeah, he was hanging out the window. Then we just came up on the gutter lane. It was like 13 cars, all of them was black too. Uh-huh. I guess Suge had a thing for the black cars that night. So we went over on the side of them, and we seen them. And out there she wrote.
And I read in the book you said that it looked like you guys rolled up and Pac reached.
Looked like he was reaching, yeah. It looked like he was ready to bust our and she like we was the first ones.
Yeah.
Luckiest one, I guess. Hit that corner, gave a little chase, boom, boom, boom. He got the busing, we bust back. And jumped up out that got like put the gun on the tire, got the on.
Now here's the deal. In Nevada, under the law, you can be charged with murder even if you didn't pull the trigger. Essentially, aiding and abetting is enough if you help plan or facilitate the crime in some way. And Davis had allegedly previously said he was in the car, that he was part of the plan.
Well, under Nevada law, and this is the law in most states in this country, you can be charged with a crime whether you're directly involved or whether you're an aider and abetter. We have an aiding and abetting statute, which provides that if you help somebody commit a crime, you can be equally as guilty.
So the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department worked to build their case. And it was on September 29th, 2023, over 2 decades after Tupac Shakur was killed, that Las Vegas police finally made an arrest.
27 years. 27 years. For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Duane Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keffe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Duane Keffe D. Davis was charged with murder with a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. This arrest made headlines around the world because finally there was a break in one of the most famous unsolved cases in American history.
So what they got you for, man?
Biggest case in Las Vegas history.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like recent?
September the 7th, 1996.
Oh, no Wow. That's a long time. That's a long time away.
You know what I'm talking about,
Hmm?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Not a detective quite yet, but yeah. That's a long time away, man. What was that? 20-some years? No, more than that. Yeah. Sure took him a while, huh?
Yeah. I ain't worried about it. I ain't care.
So the trial of Duane Keffe D. Davis is getting underway. And after years of legal maneuvering and motions to suppress evidence and questions about whether Davis's own words could be used against him, there is a jury that has been seated. 6 men, 10 women, 4 of them alternates. They're going to decide the fate of the only person ever charged in Tupac Shakur's murder. Now, Davis has pleaded not guilty. He is innocent unless proven guilty. His defense has argued that his memoir was fictionalized, that he didn't pull the trigger, that he believed his earlier statements to law enforcement were protected, that anything that he said was just exaggerated or fabricated to sell a book. But the judge has seemingly ruled that Davis adopted the book's contents as his own, that his public admissions can be used against him.
The defendant's omission arguments do not establish a showing of intentional or reckless misconduct required under Franks versus Delaware. They also don't show that the inclusion of the omitted facts would have defeated the good cause finding. The warrant was executed pursuant to judicial authorization. There's no showing of bad faith, and so suppression is not warranted here. The motion is denied. States prepare the order.
We believe the prosecution is expected to call between 35 and 45 witnesses. Law enforcement, gang experts, potentially members of Tupac's own family. Suge Knight is also on the witness list, although he has said he does not want to testify. He told ABC News last week that getting on the witness stand is, quote, worse than taking a gun and shooting that man in the head. He said he wouldn't be responsible for sending another man to prison for the rest of his life. But Davis, yeah, he faces life in prison without parole if he's convicted. And I will tell you, in a strategic move, he waived his right to have the jury decide his sentence. Yeah, if he's found guilty, it will be the judge that decides his punishment.
If it's a first-degree murder, that has to be an equal and consecutive 20 to life sentence or life without the possibility, 20 to 50 sentence, 20 to life, or life without the possibility of parole. So that would be up to the judge sentencing, no matter what the jury found.
But for Tupac's sister, Sekyiwa Shakur, this trial is not about revenge.
Where I do find justice is in all of the people that's been inspired by him, all of the doctors, the legal field, people in the legal field, all of the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, the artists, the new philosophers that come around that have been inspired by Tupac, that keep his name, his energy, his integrity, and his vision for our people alive, or for human beings alive. That is justice. The fact that his impact still shakes and moves and shapes this world, that's justice. But my message to them, whomever you are, is thank you for trusting him. Thank you for taking his words and his intentions and putting action in life to it, and continuing his legacy of love, struggle, and resilience.
This trial is scheduled to last about 4 to 5 weeks, and we will be following every moment of it, streaming this entire trial on our Law&Crime Trials channel. And here on Sidebar, we're going to be doing recaps of the biggest moments from each day. Hopefully you can join us. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. See you next time.